The Galactic Council station floated, the darkness of space like a giant metal. Flower, its petals were docking bays, where ships from 100 different worlds came to rest inside the massive structure. Aliens of every shape and size walked the corridors. Some had scales, others had fur, some floated through the air while others crawled on multiple legs. They were all here for one reason: to talk about the future of the galaxy. Tae-Jin stood against the wall of the reception hall, his eyes constantly moving. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic security force. His job was simple: keep Ambassador Jiwoo safe. The ambassador was currently speaking with a group of insect-like aliens who clicked and hummed their words through translation devices. 5 years ago, humanity had invented faster than light travel. It was crude compared to what other species used, but it worked. Earth had sent its first message to the stars, and the galaxy had answered. Now, humans were the newest members of the Galactic Council. Though many older species still looked down on them, the grand doors at the far end of the hall suddenly opened wide. Wave of silence swept through the crowd. Even the music stopped. Tae-Jin straightened up and watched. Princess Arevx entered the hall like she owned it. She probably thought she did. The Valerian Empire controlled over 200 star systems. Her people were tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like polished metal. Their eyes were large and golden, and they moved with the grace of dancers. Behind the princess walked a dozen guards in crimson armor. The leader was a massive Valerian male who stood at least 7 feet tall. Ambassador Jiwoo moved closer to Tae-Jin and whispered, "That's Commander Velrus. He's won over 50 combat challenges. Never lost once." Tae-Jin nodded but said nothing. He had read the briefing files. The Valerians were genetically enhanced warriors, stronger, faster, and tougher than baseline humans. Their empire had been exploring space for over 10,000 years, while humans were still living in caves. The princess moved through the crowd, and other aliens bowed or stepped aside. She accepted their respect as if it was her natural right. Her entourage followed, carrying trays of exotic drinks and foods. When she reached the center of the hall, she raised one elegant hand. Everyone stopped talking. "I thank the council for this gathering," she said. Her voice was musical but cold. "The Valerian Empire looks forward to productive discussions about the new territories." Polite applause followed. Then the music started again, and conversations resumed. Jiwoo sighed with relief. Well, at least she's here. That's something. Tae-Jin watched as the princess's group spread out through the hall. They moved with purpose, speaking to various delegations. It was all political theater. He knew every smile, every word was calculated. One of the valiant attendants approached the human delegation with a tray of drinks. Liquid inside the crystal glasses swirled with colors that hurt to look at. "A gift from Her Highness," the attendant said. His tone suggested it was anything but a gift. Jiwoo reached for a glass, always the diplomat, but as the attendant pulled the tray back to make room, he stumbled. The glasses tipped and the colorful liquid splashed across Jiwoo and LT Unk and GT's white formal jacket. The ambassador gasped and stepped back. Where the liquid touched, the fabric began to smoke and dissolve. It was corrosive, not strong enough to hurt skin immediately, but definitely not something you wanted on your clothes. "My apologies," the attendant said, though His face showed no real concern. How clumsy of me. Other aliens nearby stopped to watch. Some looked sympathetic, others seemed amused. This was a calculated insult, Taejin realized. A way to embarrass Earth's delegation in front of everyone. Taejin moved quickly. He stepped in front of Jiu, placing himself between the ambassador and the Valyrian group that was now gathering. Commander Velrus was among them, his massive frame blocking out the light. We in LT, UNC and GT, LL need to file a complaint, Taejin said calmly. His hand rested near his hip where a small stunner was holstered. Not that it would do much against Valyrian armor, but it was the principle. A complaint. Princess Aravex herself approached now, her golden eyes fixed on Taejin. About what? An accident that happened to target the most visible part of the ambassador's clothing, Taejin replied. He kept his voice level and professional in front of the entire assembly. Quite a coincidence. The princess tilted her head, studying him like he was an interesting insect. You dare speak to me directly, human? Do you know who I am? I know exactly who you are, Taejin said, and I know my duty is to protect my ambassador. If that means standing between him and insult, then that's what I'll do. Aiding. A murmur ran through the crowd. Other aliens were definitely watching now. Some were recording the confrontation on their devices. This would be talked about for days. Commander Veles took a step forward. You should kneel when addressing Her Highness. I kneel for one flag, Taejin said quietly, and it's the one I serve. For a moment the princess's expression showed genuine surprise. Then it shifted to something else. Amusement mixed with anger. She smiled. But it was not a friendly expression. How entertaining, she said. A primitive species with pride. Very well, human, since you wish to defend your ambassador's honor, I propose a traditional solution, my champion, against yours, in the council's arena. The crowd's murmuring grew louder. Jiu grabbed Taejin and LT UNC and GT's arm. Don't. This is exactly what they want. Jiu when Taejin's tongue Jaiwu, but Taejin was already speaking. I accept, Princess. Arevx's smile grew wider. Excellent. 3 days from now, then you'll fall instantly, human. My champions have never been defeated. This will be a brief and educational experience for your species. She turned away, her guards following. The crowd parted for her like water around a stone. Jiu pulled Taejin aside, his face pale. Do you have any idea what you just agreed to? Valyrian warriors are engineered for combat. Vel has killed people in the arena before it was made non-lethal. I know, Taejin said, watching the princess disappear through the doors, but backing down would have been worse. It would have told every species here that humans can be pushed around, and getting killed tells them what? Taejin finally looked at his friend and superior. It tells them we don't quit, even when we should. Ambassador Jaiwu stared at him for a long moment, then shook his head. You'd better not die. I hate filing death reports. Despite everything, Taejin smiled. Around them, the reception continued. But now every conversation included the same topic, the foolish human who had challenged a Valyrian princess. Most agreed it would be over in seconds. Some wondered if humans understood what they had gotten themselves into. High above, in her private quarters, Princess Aravex looked out at the stars and thought about the humans' eyes. There had been no fear in them, only determination. She had seen that look before in the eyes of warriors who knew they would die, but fought anyway. It was almost admirable. Almost, in 3 days she would watch him fall and Earth would learn its place in the galactic order. The news spread through the station faster than light itself. Within hours, every delegation knew about the challenge. Most reactions were the same: pity for the humans and curiosity about how quickly it would end. T-Jin sat in the human quarters, reviewing data on a tablet. His friend Dawn stood nearby, projecting holographic images of Valerian anatomy into the air. She was Earth's best xenobiologist, and right now she was his only advantage. Their muscle fiber is 3 times denser than ours, Dawn said, pointing at the rotating image. Their bones are reinforced with metal compounds. They can see in more light spectrums than we can. Their reaction time is 2 seconds faster on average. Anything else cheerful you want to share? T-Jun asked, not looking up from his tablet. Dawn sat down across from him. I'm serious, Taejun. This isn't like sparring in the gym back home. Valerian could literally tear your arm off if he wanted to. The rules say non-lethal. Non-lethal for them might still be fatal. For you, she paused, then softened her tone. Why did you accept? You could have let the diplomatic corps handle it. T-Jun finally looked up. Because sometimes words aren't enough. Sometimes you have to show people what you're made of, and if what you're made of ends up splattered across the arena floor. He smiled grimly. Then at least they'll remember we tried. Dawn shook her head, but pulled up another set of data. Fine. If you're going to be stupidly brave, let's at least be smart about it. I've been studying their combat records. Valerians rely on overwhelming force. So if I survive the first few seconds, if you survive, you might have a chance to adapt. Humans are good at that. Adapting. She pulled up video footage of past arena battles. Watch this one. See how Vel commits fully to each attack. He doesn't expect resistance. They spent the next several hours reviewing footage. T-Jun took notes, memorized patterns, and tried to find weaknesses in what seemed like a perfect fighting machine. Later that evening, he went to the station's training facilities. The gravity could be adjusted to match different worlds. He set it to Earth standard and began his workout: push-ups, pull-ups, combat drills. His body remembered the movements from years of training. He had grown up on Titan Colony, one of humanity's harsh outer settlements. Life there was hard. The cold could kill you in minutes without proper gear. Equipment failures were common. Everyone learned to be tough because the alternative was death. The military had been a natural choice, then special forces, then diplomatic security. As he trained, Taejin noticed he wasn't alone. A figure stood in the doorway, an alien he didn't recognize. The being was short and covered in gray fur with 4 arms and large black eyes. You are the human who challenged the Valerian. The alien said in heavily accented but clear language. I am Ambassador Cravel from the Taileyes Confederation. I came to tell you that you have made many beings think tonight, not about the fight but about courage. Taejin paused. His workout: I'm not trying to be courageous, I'm just doing my job. Doing your job even when it might kill you. That is the definition of courage. Creole's eyes seemed sad. The Valerians have ruled through strength for a long time. Many species resent them but say nothing because we cannot match their power. You are weaker than them, yet you do not. Stay silent. We're an LT Unk and GT new here, T-Jun said. We don't know all the rules yet. Maybe that's an advantage, Creole made a sound that might have been laughter. Perhaps I wish you fortune, human. Clears throat the galaxy could use. More beings who do not know when they are supposed to be afraid. After the ambassador left, Taejin continued training until his muscles burned and his lungs ached. Then he trained some more far above in the royal quarters. Princess Aravex was not sleeping. She sat at her desk reading reports about Earth. What she found puzzled her. Humans had only been in space for a few centuries. Their technology was primitive, their biology was weak. Compared to most galactic species, they had no natural weapons, no armor, no enhanced senses, yet somehow they had survived. Earth's history was violent. The reports showed endless wars, environmental disasters, diseases that killed millions. Humans had nearly destroyed themselves a dozen times over, but they hadn't. Every time they fell, they got back up. Every time they failed, they tried again. Differently, the princess read about the world wars, about the colonization of Mars despite 3 failed attempts, about the Titan colony disaster. 2,000 people died, but the survivors refused to evacuate. They rebuilt. Instead, these humans were strange. They seemed to thrive on struggle. Her door chimed. Commander Veles entered and bowed. Your Highness, I came to discuss the upcoming match. Speak. The human is training hard. My scouts report he practices for 8 hours each day. He studies my past battles. And does this concern you? Veles hesitated. In all their years together, Aravex had rarely seen him hesitate. I think we should not underestimate him. He's human, weak, slow, fragile. Yes, but struggled for words. I have fought many species, Your Highness, the strongest opponents are not always the most dangerous. Sometimes the ones who refuse to accept defeat are harder to overcome. Aravex stood and walked to the window, overlooking space. Somewhere out there, impossibly far away, was a small blue world called Earth, a world that should have died 1,000 times but somehow survived. You think he might win? She asked. No, Veles said quickly. I will defeat him, but I think it might take longer than we expect, and I think he will make me work for it. Good, the princess said softly. I would be disappointed if he made it too easy. After Veles left, she continued staring at the stars. Tomorrow, her attendants would begin preparing her viewing box for the arena event. Representatives from dozens of worlds would attend. The betting pools had already opened, with odds of 50-1 against the human she had challenged him to embarrass Earth, to remind the humans of their place. But now she found herself curious. What made someone accept certain death? What drove a species to keep fighting when logic said to surrender? In 3 days she would have her answer. On the opposite side of the station, Taejin finally stopped training. His body was exhausted, but his mind was clear. He had watched the footage 100 times. He had memorized every move Veles made. He understood now how the Valerian fought. The question was whether understanding would be enough. Jai Wu found him in the quarters later, sitting in the dark and looking at a photo on his tablet. It showed Taejin as a younger man, standing with a group of soldiers on Titan. They all looked tired but determined. Second thoughts? Jai Wu asked gently. No, Taejin said, just remembering why I'm here. These people. In the photo, half of them died during the colony defense. They fought knowing they probably wouldn't survive. They did it anyway because someone had to. This isn't the same, isn't it? We're fighting for respect now instead of survival, but the principle is the same. Someone has to stand up. Might as well be me. Jiu sat down beside him. You know, when Earth sent its first delegation to the stars, everyone thought we'd be laughed at. Our ships are slow, our weapons are weak, our lifespans are short, but you know what I've learned? None of that matters as much as we thought. What matters is whether you quit or keep going. Tijin smiled in the darkness. That's very inspiring, sir. I've been working on my speeches. Jaiwu stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud to serve with you, win or lose. After he left, Tijun returned to the photo. His fallen friend stared back at him across time and distance. They had given everything for humanity's future. The least he could do was give everything for humanity's present. 3 days suddenly didn't seem like enough time. The arena was older than human civilization, built into the center of the galactic council station. It had hosted challenges for thousands of years. The circular fighting floor was 50 m across, made of a material that could absorb energy, weapons, and heal itself. Around it rose tiers of seats that could hold 10,000 spectators. Today, every seat was full. Aliens from across the galaxy had come to watch. Some were genuinely curious. Most just wanted to see how quickly the human would fall. The betting pools had remained steady. 50-1 against Taijin. A few brave souls had bet on him anyway, either out of sympathy or hope for a massive payout. In the preparation room beneath the arena, Taijin checked his equipment. He wore minimal armor, just padding over his vital organs. The rest was standard combat clothing that allowed full movement. No weapons were permitted. This would be hand-to-hand combat only. Dune stood nearby, checking her medical scanner. Your heart rate is elevated, but steady. Adrenaline levels are high, but not panic level. How do you feel? Like I'm about to fight someone who could snap me in half. Tijun said, honestly, that's accurate. She tried to smile but failed. Remember what we discussed. Survive the first exchange. Learn his patterns. Use mobility instead of strength. I remember. Jaiwu entered the room looking uncomfortable in his formal diplomatic robes. The council representatives are seated. The princess is in her royal box. It's time. Tijun stood and rolled his shoulders, loosening his muscles. Let's get this over with. They walked together through the tunnel that led to the arena floor. The sound hit him first. Thousands of voices in hundreds of languages, all talking at once. Then the light, bright and harsh after the dim tunnel. Finally, the space itself, vast and open and terrifying. The crowd's noise changed. When they saw him, it wasn't quite laughter, but it was close. He was so small compared to the arena, so obviously human. Some aliens in the audience had never seen a human before. They leaned forward in their seats, curious about this strange species. Across the arena, another tunnel opened. Commander Velrus emerged, and the crowd's reaction was completely different. They cheered, they roared. Some species stamped their feet or clapped multiple hands. The Valerian commander was a celebrity here, a champion who had never lost. He looked even bigger in the open Space, the crimson armor covered his entire body except his head, his golden eyes fixed on Taejon with the focus of a predator. He moved to the center of the arena and waited. Taejon walked forward. Each step felt heavy, his mouth was dry. Despite drinking water minutes ago, fear tried to crawl up his spine, but he pushed it down. He had been afraid before, when his ship lost pressure during the Titan evacuation, when he faced armed insurgents on Mars, when he held dying friends in his arms. Fear was old and familiar. He could work through it. They met at the center, a council official, some species Taejon didn't recognize, floated above them on an anti-gravity platform. This challenge has been issued and accepted according to ancient tradition, the official announced. His voice echoed through the arena. The rules are simple: non-lethal combat only, victory by submission, unconsciousness, or inability to continue. Any fighting style is permitted. Do both parties understand? Yes, Veli said, his voice deep and confident. Yes, Taejon said, his voice smaller but steady. Then take your positions. They separated, moving to opposite sides of a circle marked on the floor. The crowd quieted. Thousands of eyes watched. In her royal box, Princess Aravex leaned forward slightly. The official raised one appendage. Begin. Veles moved like lightning. One moment he was across the circle, the next he was right in front of Taejon, his armored fist driving toward the human's face. Taejon barely dodged. The fist passed so close, he felt the air move. He stumbled backward, and Veles pressed forward with a combination of strikes, punch, punch, kick. Each one was powerful enough to shatter bone. The human dodged the first two, but took the kick on his side. Even through the padding, pain exploded through his ribs. He rolled with the impact, creating distance, but Reese followed. The crowd was cheering now, sensing a quick victory. Taejon's back hit the edge of the arena. Vel's hand shot out and grabbed his throat, lifting him off the ground. With one arm, submit, the Valyrian commanded. There is no shame in accepting defeat. Taejon couldn't breathe. His vision started to blur, but instead of tapping out, he kicked both legs up and wrapped them around his extended arm, using his whole body weight as leverage. The angle was wrong for the Valyrians' strength. The grip loosened just enough. Taejon dropped, gasped air into his burning lungs, and rolled away. Velrys looked surprised for half a second. Then he attacked again. The pattern repeated. Velrys struck with overwhelming power. Taejon dodged or blocked or took the hit and kept moving. Each exchange hurt. His body was collecting bruises and impacts that would have dropped most humans, but he had trained for this. He had lived on Titan, where falling meant freezing. He had survived combat where hesitation meant death. He kept getting up. Crowds cheering began to change. At first, they had been excited for a quick victory. Now they were just confused. The human should have fallen by now. He should have submitted, but he kept standing, kept moving, kept fighting. Dawn watched from the preparation area, her medical scanner showing Taejon's vital signs: 2 cracked ribs, bruised kidney, possible concussion. He should stop, but he wouldn't. She knew him well enough to know that. Up in her box, Princess Aravex found herself leaning forward more and more. The human was losing, obviously, but he wasn't falling. Each time Velrys knocked him down, he stood back up. Each time he took damage, he adjusted his defense. He Was learning. Interesting, she murmured. Her attendant looked confused. Your Highness, the human, he's adapting. Watch, Velis uses the same opening. Combination every time, the human has. Noticed, see how he's already moving. Before the second strike comes, now it was true. Ti-Jun was no longer reacting to each attack, he was predicting them. Velis had fought hundreds of battles, but they had all been against opponents. Trying to match his strength, Ti-Jun wasn't trying to match anything, he was trying to survive, and in surviving he was learning. 10 minutes into the fight, something changed. Vel threw his standard combination jab. Cross low kick, but this time Ti-Jun wasn't where he expected. The human had moved a split second earlier, and the kick found only air before Velris could recover. Ti-Jun attacked, not with power, but with precision, a strike to the inside of the knee, a palm heel to an unarmored section near the armpit, a quick jab to the throat. None of the hits would have hurt Vice seriously, but they all hit. For the first time in the fight, the Valiant was the one backing up. The crowd went silent, then someone cheered, then more joined in. Velis's expression changed from confidence to focus. He realized his mistake. He had been treating this like a quick demonstration. Now he had to actually fight. They circled each other, both breathing hard. Ti-Jun's vision was blurry from the impacts, and he was pretty sure his left hand was broken. Vel was barely showing damage, but there was something different in his stance now. Respect. The Valyrian charged again, but this time with full commitment, no more testing attacks, no more playing with his opponent. He moved with the speed and power that had won him 50 victories. Ti-Jun saw it coming and knew he couldn't dodge this time, so he did the last thing anyone expected. He charged forward too, getting inside's reach. Before the big strikes could land, they collided like planets. Ti-Jun felt his body scream in protest, but he wrapped his arms around Velris's waist and used every ounce of strength he had left to execute a technique he had practiced 1,000 times. Takedown physics didn't care how strong you were. Leverage was leverage. Momentum was momentum. Ti-Jun drove forward and twisted, and suddenly both of them were falling. They hit the ground hard. In that moment, every eye in the arena was fixed on the tangled fighters. Ti-Jun moved on instinct, his broken hand forgotten. He slipped around Taurus's back, wrapped his legs around the Valyrian's waist, and sank in a chokehold. It was a perfect rear naked choke, the kind that cuts off blood to the brain. Velry struggled, his superior strength trying to break free. His hands grabbed at Ti-Jun's arms. He rolled, trying to shake the human off, but Ti-Jun held on. His whole body was locked in place, every muscle burning. This was it, all or nothing. Submit, he gasped into Velis's ear. Please. For 5 seconds that felt like 5 hours. Velry struggled. Then his hand tapped 3 times against the arena floor, the signal for submission. The arena erupted in noise. The medical bay smelled like chemicals Ti-Jun couldn't identify. Dawn worked quickly, running scanners over his body while alien doctors watched with professional interest. A human had just defeated a Valyrian champion, and everyone wanted to understand how. 3 cracked ribs, broken hand, severe bruising across your entire torso, and a concussion. Dawn listed while she worked. You're lucky to be alive. Don't feel lucky. Ti-Jun managed. Everything hurt, even breathing, was painful. Well, you should. Medical staff said most species would have died from the impacts you took. She injected something that made the pain fade slightly. How did you keep fighting? Didn't want to give them the satisfaction of watching me quit. He tried to smile, but it hurt too much. Outside the medical bay, the station was in chaos. News of the fight had spread instantly across the galaxy. Humans had defeated a Valerian in single combat. The impossible had happened. Ambassadors were sending urgent messages to their home worlds. Military analysts were revising their assessments of human capabilities, and everywhere, people were asking the same question: if humans could do this, what else could they do? In the human delegation quarters, Jew was drowning in communication requests. Every species wanted to talk suddenly. Trade offers, military alliances, technology exchanges. Everyone wanted to be friends with Earth now. Ambassador Haiyan Wu, Earth's senior diplomat, had arrived on the next transport. He was older than Jew, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He sat in the main office reviewing the flood of offers. This is unprecedented, Haiyan Wu said, scrolling through another message. The Korvax want to share their shield technology. The Talians are offering mining rights in 3 systems. Even the Zephyr Collective wants to discuss military cooperation, all because of one fight. Jew asked, not just the fight, what the fight represents. For years the Valerians have been the military standard, unbeatable. Now everyone knows they can bleed. Haiyan Wu leaned back. Fear is a fragile thing. Once it breaks, everything changes. In her private quarters, Princess Aravex stared at the wall where a video replay of the fight was projected. She had watched it 7 times now. Each time she tried to understand what had happened, her attendants moved quietly around the room, sensing her dark mood. They had reason to be worried. The princess had been humiliated before the entire galaxy. Her champion had fallen to a human of all species. Some were already calling it the greatest upset in arena history. Your Highness, one attendant ventured carefully. The council chambers request your presence for tomorrow's session. I am aware. Her voice was ice. There are also messages from the Valerian court. They wish to discuss the outcome. Aravex could imagine those discussions. Court elders would be furious. Some would blame her for making the challenge in the first place. Others would demand action to restore their reputation. The Valerian Empire's image as invincible warriors had been shattered by one persistent human. Chime at her door interrupted her thoughts. She considered ignoring it, but royal duty was stronger than pride. Enter. To her surprise, it was Commander Veles. He looked different without his armor, smaller and somehow more real. He bowed deeply before speaking. Your Highness, I have come to formally apologize for my failure. Rise, Velris. Your failure is mine as well. I underestimated the human. She paused. As did you? Yes. He looked uncomfortable. I have fought many battles, Your Highness, but never against someone like him. He was weaker, slower, less skilled. By all logic, I should have won in seconds, but he never stopped learning. Every time I hit him, he adapted. Every time I used a technique, he found a counter. Veles met her eyes. I have fought warriors from 100 worlds. Most are strong or fast or clever. The human was none of these things. Exceptionally, but his determination, I have never faced anything like it. Aravex turned back to the video. Freeze. Framed on the wall was the moment of her champion submission. I requested information about Earth's history. Did you know they nearly destroyed their own world 3 times? War, disease, environmental collapse. Each time they survived. I did not know, Your Highness. They have no natural weapons, no armor, no enhanced strength. They live barely 100 years. Yet they have conquered their solar system through nothing but persistence. She was quiet for a moment. Perhaps we have become too comfortable in our strength. We have forgotten what it means to struggle. Your Highness, there is something else. Velrus looked troubled. I have heard rumors in the warrior quarters. Some of the court members are displeased with the outcome. There is talk of restoring honor through less official means. Aravix's expression hardened. Assassination. Aravix, I have no proof. Only whispers, but I thought you should know. After he left, the princess stood alone in her quarters. The right thing would be to warn the human delegation. But that would mean admitting her own people were planning murder. It would mean standing against her own court. It would mean choosing honor over pride. For a long moment she stared at the frozen image of Tijun, forcing Velrus to submit. The human's face in that moment showed no triumph, no anger, only determination. And, strangely, concern. She remembered his words during the fight. Please, he had asked his opponent to submit, not demanded, not gloated, asked. She made her decision. 3 hours later, Tijun received an unexpected visitor in the medical bay. He was sitting up now, bandaged but conscious. When the door opened and Princess Aravex entered, her guards remained outside. Dawn immediately moved between them, but Tijun raised his good hand. It's okay. It's okay. The princess approached slowly, studying him as she had before the fight, but her expression was different now. You are recovering. Well, I've been worse. It wasn't quite true, but he didn't want to show weakness. I came to offer congratulations. You fought with honor. Thank you, Your Highness. Tijun wasn't sure what else to say. This felt surreal. Aravex glanced at Dawn, then back to Tijun. I must speak with you privately. It concerns your safety. Dawn looked ready to argue, but Tijun nodded. Give us a moment. When they were alone, the princess's formal manner dropped slightly. There are elements in my court who do not accept the outcome of the challenge. They see it as a stain on Valyrian honor. I have reason to believe they plan to remove that stain through violence. Tijun absorbed this information. They want me dead, not just you, your entire delegation. They plan to make it look like an accident, a ship malfunction perhaps, or a station system failure. She met his eyes. Where I am telling you this because what happened in the arena was honorable combat. What they plan is murder. I will not be party to it. Why help us? Won't this cause problems for you? Yes, significant ones. She smiled, but it was sad. You asked Velus to submit. You could have choked him unconscious, claimed total victory. Instead, you gave him the chance to surrender with dignity. That was mercy. My people seem to have forgotten that strength and mercy are not opposites. What do? We expose the conspiracy before they can act, but I will need your cooperation and that of your ambassadors. We will need to work together. She paused. An alliance between a Valyrian princess and a human Security officer, the galaxy will talk about this for generations, despite the pain. Tajin smiled. They're already talking, might as well give them something interesting to discuss. They spent the next hour planning. When dawn and you returned, the princess explained everything. The senior officials were shocked but quickly saw the opportunity, not just to save their lives but to forge a genuine connection with one of the galaxy's most powerful empires. If we can prove this conspiracy, Ambassador Hyun Woo said thoughtfully, it will show that the Valerian Empire has honor that Princess Aravex values truth over pride. That could change everything, or it could start a civil war in my empire, Aravex said bluntly. Some of my people will see this as betrayal, but I have decided that honor matters more than comfort. Taejun watched her speak and realized something. The fight in the arena had changed both of them. He had learned that aliens weren't so different from humans. They could be honorable or corrupt, brave or cowardly, and she had learned that strength came in many forms. When do we start? He asked. Tomorrow. The conspirators plan to strike during the council session. We will be ready. After she left, Jai Woo looked at Taejin with something like awe. You know, you've started something here, right? Something bigger than a fight. Taejin lay back on the medical bed, exhausted. I just wanted to protect Earth's dignity. Now I'm in the middle of alien politics. How does this keep happening to me? Dawn laughed. Because you can't help being stubborn. Now rest. Tomorrow is going to be interesting. That night, across the station, various forces prepared. The conspirators readied their weapons and their plans. Princess Aravex called trusted allies to her side, and the human delegation, still processing everything that had happened, prepared to face yet another challenge. The fight in the arena had been about strength. Tomorrow would be about something even more important. Trust. The council chamber was the heart of galactic governance, a massive circular room where representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to debate the future. Today, the room was more crowded than usual. News of the human victory and the rumors of conspiracy had drawn every delegation. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Taejin stood behind Ambassador Hyun Woo, still bandaged but present. The medical staff had cleared him for light duty, though Dawn had argued against it. He had insisted on being here. If someone was going to try killing him, he wanted to see it coming. Princess Aravex sat in the Valerian section, surrounded by her delegation. She looked calm, but Taejin could see tension in her posture. They had communicated through secure channels all night, coordinating their plan. Now came the hard part: execution. High Chancellor Mordax called the session to order. He was ancient even by galactic standards, and his species looked like floating jellyfish made of crystal. His voice resonated through translation devices in everyone's ears. We gather today to discuss several matters of importance. First, the territorial disputes in Sector 7. Second, the recent challenge in the arena and its implications. Third, an explosion rocked the chamber. Not inside the room, but close. The station shook. Alarm sirens began wailing. Delegates jumped to their feet, some species making sounds of panic in their native languages. Everyone remained calm. Mordax announced, his voice somehow cutting through the chaos. Station security is investigating, but Taejun was already moving. This was it. The assassination attempt. He pushed through the crowd toward the Valyrian section where Princess Aravex was also standing. Their eyes met across the chamber. Another explosion closer this time. The lights flickered. Several delegates began rushing toward the exits. That's when Taejin saw them. 3 Valyrian warriors in dark armor. Moving against the crowd, they were heading toward the human delegation. Hunwoo, get down, he shouted. Ambassador didn't question, he dropped. Behind his desk, Dawn and Jaiwoo followed. The assassins raised weapons. Compact energy pistols that should not have been allowed in the chamber. Taejin was unarmed, still injured and facing 3 trained killers. The smart move would have been to hide. Instead, he ran toward them, using the panicking crowd as cover. The first assassin didn't see him coming until too late. Taejin hit him low, a tackle that sent them both crashing into a delegation desk. The pistol went flying. Pain exploded through Taejin's broken ribs, but he ignored it. The second assassin turned and aimed at him. Before he could fire, a crimson-armored figure slammed into him from the side. Commander had joined the fight, and this time they were on the same side. Behind you, Velrus shouted. Taejin rolled as energy bolts scorched the floor where he had been. The third assassin had him in sight, but then Princess Aravex was there, tackling her own warrior with a ferocity that shocked everyone watching. Traitor! The assassin screamed at her. No, she replied, pinning him down. Murderer! There is a difference. Station security finally arrived, surrounding the assassins. The chamber fell silent, except for the alarm sirens. Every delegate stared at the scene. A Valyrian princess and commander fighting alongside humans against their own people. High Chancellor Mortax descended from his platform. His crystalline body pulsed with colors that might have been anger. Someone explain what just happened. Princess Aravex stood, helping Taejin to his feet. His ribs were definitely rebroken, but he managed to stand. High Chancellor, I can explain, but you may wish to sit down. This goes deeper than a simple attack. For the next hour the story unfolded. Princess Aravex presented evidence she had gathered, communications between court officials planning the assassination, records of weapons smuggled onto the station, even video of the conspirators meeting. She named names, including some high-ranking members of Valyrian government. They could not accept that a human defeated our champion, she explained. They saw it as a threat to our empire's reputation rather than accept an honorable loss. They chose murder. Ambassador Hunwoo stood. The human delegation thanks Princess Aravex for her courage in exposing this plot. She has shown that true strength lies not in never losing, but in how we respond to loss. Mortax examined the evidence. This is a serious accusation. Princess, you realize what you are saying, that members of your own court planned murder on council territory. I do, and I accept responsibility for bringing them to justice regardless of the political cost to myself or my empire. You would turn against your own people. They stopped being my people when they chose dishonor over truth. Her voice was firm. The Valyrian Empire was built on strength, yes, but also on honor. These conspirators have forgotten that. I will not. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some delegates looked impressed, others looked skeptical. Political ramifications would be enormous. One of the captured assassins spat at Aravex's feet. You shame our entire race for human the Empire will never forgive this, perhaps, she said quietly, but I will be able to look at myself in the mirror. Can you say the same? The assassin had no answer. Over the next several days, the investigation expanded. More conspirators were identified and arrested. Some tried to flee but were caught. The scandal rocked the Valyrian Empire to its core. In the royal court, there were calls for Princess Aravex to be stripped of her title, but there were also voices defending her, saying she had saved their honor when others would have destroyed it. Tijin spent those days healing. Dawn had confined him to bed rest, and this time he listened. His body needed time to recover from 2 fights in 1 week. Princess Aravex visited him again in the medical bay. I wanted to thank you. Your actions in the chamber saved lives. Your warning saved more. Tijun replied, you didn't have to help us. Yes, I did, not because of politics or diplomacy. Because it was right. She sat in the chair beside his bed. I have learned something from humans. You are not the strongest or fastest or most advanced species, but you understand something we had forgotten. What's that? That strength without honor is just brutality. That losing gracefully is sometimes more important than winning. She smiled, a genuine expression this time. When you asked Veles to submit, you showed mercy. When you kept fighting, despite being outmatched, you showed courage. These are qualities we Valyrians claim to value, but we had reduced them to mere words. Your people aren't all like the conspirators, no. But enough, or that change is needed. You have given me the chance to be part of that change. She stood. The High Chancellor has made his ruling. The conspirators will be punished. I am to return home to face my court. The outcome is uncertain. What will you do? Fight, not with weapons but with words and truth. Some will listen, others will not, but at least I will try. She moved toward the door, then paused. The human phrase is thank you. Yes, yes, then. Thank you, Tijun, for showing me that falling is not the end, that how we rise afterward is what truly matters. After she left, Dawn came in to check his vitals. You know, you've changed galactic politics, right? The Valyrian Empire hasn't had internal conflict like this in centuries. I just wanted to protect our delegation. Well, you did that and apparently started a revolution while you were at it. She smiled. Earth is proud of you. There are parades being planned, medals being prepared. You're a hero. Tijun didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired and sore and confused, but maybe that was what heroes actually felt like, not triumphant, just glad to have survived. A month later, the High Council held a special ceremony. The territorial disputes had been resolved peacefully, new alliances had been formed, and humanity had been granted expanded rights and representation in council matters. Ambassador Hyan Wu stood before the assembly. Earth thanks the council for their trust. We know we are new to the galactic community. We have much to learn, but we hope we have also shown that we can contribute, not through military might but through determination and integrity. Representatives from dozens of worlds applauded. Even some Valyrians joined in. Tijin watched from the human delegation box, finally healed enough to attend. Beside him sat Jai Wu and Dune. They had all been promoted and decorated, Earth's first heroes in the stars. Think you'll take the liaison position? Ju asked. The Valyrian Empire had requested Tijin specifically to serve as a connection between their worlds. I'm considering it, Dawn says. She'll come along to keep me from getting killed. Someone has to, Dawn said. You have a talent for finding trouble, or trouble finds me. They watched as Princess Aravex approached the speaking platform. She had returned from her home world, the reports said. Her speech before the Valyrian court had been legendary. She had shamed those who supported the conspirators and inspired those who valued honor. The Empire was changing slowly, but changing. She spoke now to the council. The Valyrian Empire acknowledges its mistakes. We allowed pride to become arrogance. We allowed strength to become the only measure of worth. A human warrior taught us that true strength includes mercy, honor, and the courage to admit when we are wrong. We thank Earth for this lesson. More applause. Ti-Jun felt embarrassed by the attention. He had just done his job, but maybe that was the point. Sometimes doing your job, standing up when you should stay down, fighting when you should flee. Maybe that was enough. After the ceremony, he found Princess Aravex in one of the station's observation decks. She stood looking at the stars, her posture more relaxed than he had ever seen. Your speech was good, he said, approaching carefully. Thank you. Yours would have been terrible. You are better at fighting than talking, he laughed. True. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching distant stars. Finally, Aravex spoke. When I first saw you, I thought you would fall instantly. I was so certain of your weakness, and now I understand that I was the one who fell for the illusion that physical strength was all that mattered. Fell for the pride that said we were superior to all others. She looked at him. You defeated me twice, once in the arena and once in teaching me humility. I think we both learned something, yes. And perhaps that is the best outcome. Not victory or defeat, but understanding. She held out her hand in the human gesture of partnership to new beginnings. Ti-Jun shook her hand. 2 new beginnings. Far below them, Earth turned in its orbit, blue and green and impossibly fragile. A small world that had produced a small species that somehow refused to accept limitations. They had no natural weapons, no enhanced biology, no ancient technology, just determination and the refusal to quit, and somehow that had been enough. The galaxy was vast and full of powerful species, but now they all knew humans might fall, but they would always get back up, and sometimes that was the most dangerous thing of